Welcome everyone! Today I'm going to show you how to sketch this group of trees. This is not exactly a realistic landscape design, but more of a practice exercise for combining different tree forms, and it's a great way to explore variety and practice your drawing skills. So now let me walk you through it. We have a top layer, which is all the trees, it's canopy layer. Then we have the middle layer with some shrubs, and we have the ground layer that helps to tie everything together. So the middle and ground layers are especially important because without them the trees would be just standing there on their own, which doesn't really work. I suggest starting the sketch from the center. That's why I drawn the center line to help guide me. On the left I'll add two trees, oval and round shaped, and on the right side we have a big pine. So, step 1. First draw a horizontal line to represent the ground. This will be the foundation of your composition. And from here we will build up the different three layers. Now let's add the central line as a guide. Step 2. Add in basic shapes. So, the tree on the left is kind of oval-shaped, but then it has a whipping form. So, we add that and we add a trunk. To the left of this tree, I have a rounded shaped tree with several stems, multi-stem trunk. First, draw a big circle. And now on the right, I will add a big pine. And I will add even a bigger circle. In the background, let's add a couple of columnar trees, one bigger and one smaller. And here, in between those trees, we have a conical tree that is slightly shorter than the other ones in the background. On the right side, another conical tree. So now we have some outline for the canopy layer. Let's add the middle layer. I will make them rounded and I will variate the sizes. So let's add texture and details. Now we can refine everything. And well, don't forget that it's easier to add than to take away. So add gradually and build it up gradually. I'm adding more lines on the left side just to help to define the 3D form. I don't really think about any specific light, so it's kind of like diffused, but I want to make the shape stand out, so I focus on texture and contrast. And as you see, I concentrate my lines closer to the ground. And top of the tree is pretty much highlighted. For the round-shaped tree, I'm going to draw smaller round shapes inside the larger outline. So I think it looks a bit like a bunch of balloons. Next, I'll add the branches and I will extend them out from the trunk to fill out the tree form. Every time you add a branch, it reminds a V shape or a diamond shape. And on the lower part of each small balloon, we will add some texture lines to represent the foliage in the shadow. And it will give us a 3-dimensional shape. So you can use a mix of small dots, short lines, short strokes, create the texture. Just try to keep it random to maintain the natural look. Don't spend too much time on the same section. Just move all over the place. Just gradually build it up. And now we can see that little by little the tree gets more and more definition. This is gonna take some time, but since the drawing is actually quite small, it's not gonna take too much time. When you refine the edges of the tree and next to the space around it, use some very soft strokes and don't keep the harsh line so that it looks really natural. And don't worry to make it perfect. Being imperfect, actually part of nature. Let's draw the trees in the background. Keep your outline really soft and subtle so that these trees don't compete with the trees in the foreground. We'll add in just a bit of texture. You can keep it pretty simple. Now some more accent to the tree in the foreground with a bit of extra line weight. Now we have two more evergreen trees. I will add some vertical outlines and I want to capture the slender upright form of these trees. And add some soft transition away as the trees overlap. Keep your strokes light to maintain the sense of distance between the trees. The pine tree can be slightly more challenging than the other trees, but imagine that you are drawing clouds that are symmetrically located and variate in sizes, and so add them one by one to remind the shape of the pine branches. Once you got the clouds, you can add the branches underneath to connect them. Now, to define the shape, let's add the texture lines. Again, we add on the lower part of the clouds, that is in the shadow. I'm using slightly different texture line so that all the trees look different. By the way, the shape of this pine tree, you could say that the branches are, they look horizontal compared to other trees, the weeping tree and the columnar conical trees that are all vertical. That's nice to have this kind of contrast between the trees for variety. Keep adding these small adjustments. You can put some little dots if there is some empty space, but remember it's very important to keep the highlights. The highlights are just as important as shadow. As I mentioned previously, don't focus on one tree for too long. Move around and refine things as you go. Now we have only one tree left, so we almost did it, and it's also fairly easy. Again, as you notice, the texture lines are different, and I think this one's suit to a conifer tree. Just don't forget to keep your doodles really random, avoid straight lines, so that the tree looks natural, as I already mentioned. Now we finally have middle ground. I'm going to draw some little branches to imitate the shrubs. If you remember the exercise where I was drawing shrubs, the frame line practice card, well, that's it. So I just make them of different sizes. So some of them are a bit lower, some of them are a bit taller. And my strokes go always up, so I have pointed tips of the branches. And a bit more layers. I would say that the middle layer and the ground layer kind of overlay there is no clear border between them right now. But I think that so many layers help to create depth, even though we have a section drawing that is called in landscape design. And now there is a way to add more dimension to the ground layer if we simply make it darker. If you happen to have a fineliner 0.8 millimeters, so that it's much faster to make the lines bolder. So now it's just more time to add some final touches here and there. And finally, for some extra step that's optional, we can add a little human figure for scale and just for the mood. If you want, you can add even another figure to create some interaction. And we are done. Thank you so much for drawing along today, and I'll see you next time.